everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the JRPG Report, episode 205. Happy Friday to you. We are here on I'm going to say our new recording day. This certainly is something I would like to keep it as new episodes coming out on Friday and every other week or so having a Sunday special for you. So my name is James Fisher. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I certainly cannot promise anything like we had last week. In fact, it's kind of a sublime, kind of slow week this week, but we do have some fun things to chat about. But needless to say, we're not going to be rambling on for an hour, or give or take like we did last time. I do want to follow up, just a brief mention on Chrono Cross. I'm going to say Remaster. The Radical Dreams Edition is the official title of the game. There was a cool little article that came out showing kind of a side-by-side with the old screenshot of the game and this new version. I think the new version looks really, really well. In my opinion, I think the old one, looks just fine. Like I mentioned last week, I fired this game up not too long ago as a PS1 classic on my PlayStation 3. It left a lot to be desired. When you blow it up on a big TV, it doesn't look great. Now, when I played it on my Vita, it looked fantastic on that small little screen. So even this original model looks to be a step up. Now, you're going to be able to toggle between that original mode and the updated mode. That's up to you. In addition to the character models getting a facelift and looking much better, in my opinion, I think the text is easier to read. Doesn't quite have that blur to it in both the menu and on the character names and stats and all that stuff. So I think that'll make things just a little bit easier to play when you're going on there. The two screens in particular were battle screens showing Surge and Kid. If you're watching the YouTube version, you're kind of seeing those images. But that's all on the article that I shared from Siliconia on our Facebook or Twitter page. So, of course, you'll want to follow us over there so you can kind of get a better idea of what I am talking about. There was also just a snippet of information about the Radical Dreamers La Tercera Edad localization. This is the first time we were getting this in the West. It was originally a Satellaview game, whatever that means, with 7 side stories related to it. Some screenshots appeared for the game in English. They showed story segments, and at one point you can make a decision. So it's kind of like an interactive type game. I'm very interested in this. I really don't have a ton of context to it, but I think it'll be a cool little supplement. I'm not sure if you need to read it before or after, but play it, I guess is the better term for it. But it'd be nice to kind of get a little bit of an addition to the game and let you know some details that you probably were not aware of. One thing I do have that is actual news is a price point for you. We didn't know the price. It came out a few days after that, and it is showing on both the eShop, PlayStation Store, and on Steam. I wasn't sure what they were going to price this at. To be quite fair, they probably could have charged whatever they wanted to. Now, typically we see these type of experiences come out not at full price. So let's say $60. I feel like they could have got a little bit more, but I'm very happy to announce that it's coming out at $19.99. I think that's more than fair. They didn't, reinvent the wheel with this and rebuild it from the ground up, but it's certainly an improvement in my opinion. Now, from what I've seen online, that opinion is not shared. There are some haters out there, and y'all know this, there's haters going to hate. There's always going to be those people that are just never quite happy with that. But I think for people who have been waiting 20 years for this game to finally get a remaster, 20 plus years. They're going to be happy with it. But yeah, I think $19.99, you can't argue with that. Of course, it's coming on April the 7th to Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. Let me know in the comments below if you're planning on picking this thing up day one or not. That is digital, like I mentioned last week. So if you are a physical collector, I still have no word on if that's going to be a possibility or not. But maybe go ahead and bite the bullet and get it, or wait a little bit and see what happens. But there you go. But yeah, happy news. $20, you can't argue with that. In other gaming news, Katakawa Games said there will be a demo released for Relayer coming to the PlayStation Store on February the 25th, so about a week from today. The demo will feature the first 2 chapters of the main story. It will consist of a total of 9 stages, plus 12 stages in the battle simulator, and a maximum attainable level of 30 can be achieved. In the game, you can get up to level 300. Save data can be transferred to the full game when it launches. That's always a good thing. You could, to get to level 30, first 2 chapters of the game, you could put some time into this thing. And that'll get you a good 10th of the way to your maximum level. Don't want to be spend all that time and then have it be for naught. Relayer is due out for PS5 and PS4 on March the 24th worldwide. It will have English, Japanese, French, Italian, German, Spanish, traditional Chinese, and Korean options when it launches, like I said, on March the 24th. Bandai Namco has uploaded a new trailer for .hat GU Last Recode. I say trailer, that's maybe not the best term for it, as it is the first 16 minutes of the upcoming Switch release. It will feature several key characters that appear in the game and goes over certain events that set the story in motion. This includes characters like the protagonist of the series, Haseo, I guess that's how you say it, I'm not exactly sure, and major side characters like Sakaki and Atolai. The trailer lays a foundation for major story events, so those looking to jump into the game with a completely fresh experience may want to avoid this trailer. You can check that out via the link on our Facebook or our Twitter channels. Like I said, about 16 minutes, but yeah, if you don't want to ruin that, or maybe if you didn't play the games back in the day, you may want to avoid this one until it gets a little bit closer to release. .hack GU Last Reader is a collection of all 3 PlayStation 2 titles. However, it features an epilogue which expands on the ending of the games. It will release worldwide for the Nintendo Switch on March the 10th of this year. It's available right now on PS4 and PC. There's some news about Triangle Strategy and its 3 nations. The latest came from Nintendo of Europe's Twitter page. Details the major 3 regions of Norzelia. First is the Kingdom of Glenbrook. It is home to many of the lead characters in the game, as Serenia Wolfert's house, Wolfert calls the area, that was a tongue twister, calls the area home. So do members of House Fox and House Teledor. 3 mighty kingdoms rule the continent of Norzelia in Triangle Strategy. Said to be the oldest of the 3, the Kingdom of Glenbrook is rich in agriculture and fisheries. The royal family is, and its high houses has been instrumental to bringing peace to Norzelia. I've not said the word fisheries in a long time. Next up is the Grand Duchy, Duchy of Asfrot. I'm sorry. It is home to the family that consists of the Archduke Gustadolf and his family. This includes Frederica, who is Serena's fiancée. Despite being situated in one of the most inhospitable regions of the realm, the Grand Duchy of Asfrot is home to a thriving industrious nation that values freedom above all. Its Castle Ironstone rather, is said to function as both a fortress and an iron factory. And the last of the three kingdoms is the holy state of Heisenat, which is home to the saintly seven characters. It is a pious nation situated in a vast desert. Its capital is encircled by a great wall known as the Goddess's Shield. At its center lies the source, a lake from which all of Norzaria's salt is harvested. And that's one of the key problems in this game. Hence, I believe the war for that salt. Hey, you think about it, life would be pretty bland and tasteless without salt. It's probably worth fighting for. Of course, you can check out that extended demo on the eShop for your Nintendo Switch. Check out the first 3 chapters of the game, and that progress will carry over into the full game. Triangle Strategy is coming out worldwide on March the 4th. Just a few more weeks to pick this one up. If you enjoy the podcast, please consider financial support for this podcast. You can do so through Patreon. There are links below in the show description. You can easily do that, or just type in JRPG Report on Patreon. That's our one source of funding. We were going through Anchor, but it got complicated. So that's the place to go if you enjoy what we do here. I would greatly appreciate it. Of course, you want to follow us on our social media channels for stuff like this article from Siliconia. It is a review for Monarch. They say it earns a passing grade with room for improvement. I'm not going to get into all the details of that. If you've been looking forward to it, you can read it on your own, as the reviews are thorough. I will tell you, though, that they gave it an 8 out of 10. So that's more than passing, especially for a new IP and trying some new ideas. These first-time developers of a game, they've got a lot of pedigree, but that first time can be a little rough. So I think that's a more than a good score to give this game. And if you've been looking forward to it, that'll give you some reassurance that it's going to be pretty decent when it comes out on February the 22nd. So just a few more days on PC, Switch, PS4, and PS5. Like I said, you want to check our socials for that full article. There's been, was it last week or the week before, when UFO Table released that other animation for Tales of Arise. Had some story elements to it and characters all thrown in there. I thought it was really beautiful. I enjoyed it quite a bit. However, there are no plans for an anime adaptation of the game. In an interview with Famitsu, Tales of series and Tales of Arise producer Yusuke Tamazawa revealed the title will not receive an anime adaptation like several other titles, i.e. Symphonia and Abyss. By the way, if you follow the Tales of YouTube channel, you can be watching that Tales of the Abyss anime. I've still not got a chance to check it out, but I'm definitely going to. His quote was, "Since so much of Tales of Arise was created on the basis of it being a game, such as the story and overall experience, we have no intention to tell that same story through an animated adaptation." I get it. And just those animes have been pretty popular. From what I've heard, the anime adaptation of Tales of Zestiria was actually pretty good. Unlike the game, which I didn't care for. But in other Tales of Arise news, or I guess Tales of news, Tamazawa also stated they want to create something special for the 30th anniversary. Now, they've got some time, as the 30th anniversary will not be until 2025. So he said the series will commemorate its 30th anniversary in 2025, rather than making a commemorative work simply because it would be the 30th anniversary. I would like to make something that the fans want. It's a good idea. I think that we should provide a wider range of Tales of titles and experiences for consoles, not to mention developing new titles on a regular basis. Kind of stating what we all think and know, right? However, I have no intention of ignoring the demand to port or remake past works within the series. It's very difficult to decide which order and what form, but I would like to say that the team will try to create something where all Tales of fans will be excited for this 30th anniversary. I like what he's saying. Certainly, by that time, you would anticipate that we could have or should have a new Tales of game. So that would kind of coincide with it. Maybe that's what they're eyeballing, is they're going to have a new game then, as well as some previous remasters. There's those PS3 titles in particular that already did Vesperia, so it would stand to reason that those could all get some sort of remaster treatment between now and then. I would love to see Abyss or Graces get that treatment, and maybe it's time for Exelia 1 and 2 as well. Those were very popular titles. I don't see why they shouldn't get some sort of HD. Of course, I mean, they were PS3, so technically they were in HD, but to get the Vesperia treatment and get that new polish on it and maybe some added content if possible, that would certainly be pretty nice. We'll have to wait and see if that actually happens or not. If you've been looking forward to the Hyper Dimension Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters spinoff, you can check out the opening movie that was released from our friends over at Idea Factory. You can check that out in the link on Facebook or Twitter. As you might expect, Hyperdimension Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters video begins by showing those CPU candidate characters. These are the little sisters of the goddesses. So you've got Nepgear, Uni, and Ram and Ram show up in their normal and purple sister, black sister, and white sister forms. After that, the CPUs Neptune, Noir, Blanche, and Vert appear. New characters, Mayho, Henri, Grey Sister, and Seely show up. After that, you'll get an opportunity to hear the theme song, Fight for Victory, by Ayane. She's done some previous work in the series, so you'll probably be familiar with the sound of that song. The game's coming out for PS4 and PS5 on April 21st in Japan. Still no word on a Western release. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I really thought we'd hear some localization. Maybe as we get closer, that will finally happen. We can only hope that news comes pretty soon. Coming out this Sunday, February the 20th, will be our second Sunday special of the month, and that is a soundtrack. We do one kind of interview, fun special podcast per month, and we do one soundtrack per month. At Jake's suggestion, it's going to be Final Fantasy IX. And I was incorrect. I thought it was 3 discs. Turns out it's 4. So, what we're going to do is break it up. I think I did that with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It ended up being a 2-week soundtrack extravagant. Big show. I can't say that word. So the 20th is going to get part 1, so that'd be disc 1 and 2. The 27th of February, you'll get disc 3 and 4. So I'm working on that. Actually, I'll be working on that tomorrow so I can get it out for you guys on Sunday. And I'm in talks / negotiations with Dalton to put together our first Sunday special for March. I believe... Let me look at the calendar here. Yeah, that's going to be March the 6th is going to be that special. So we're going to look to record that here pretty soon. Probably be a little bit like the last one and just be a lot of fun. Nothing too serious. Just having fun. Gamer, nerds, talking about JRPGs. Good stuff. The Switch version of The Legend of 92 Boundless Trails will launch on May the 26th in Japan. Falcom announced the pre-orders for the physical edition will include a 2-disc original soundtrack, around 60 titles. So if you want to import that, feel free to. It's region free. You can do that. Players in the West will, of course, have to wait until next year to get our hands on this title. Do out for PS4, Switch, and PC via Steam. Of course, this is the remake of the game from the PlayStation Portable, which came out about 10 years ago. If you are a fan of the RPG Maker line of games, there's a new version coming out. Gotcha Games has announced RPG Maker Unite, the latest entry in its role-playing game creation series. It will launch for PC via Steam and the Unity Asset Store in 2022 worldwide. Here is an overview of it. RPG Maker Unite, currently slated for a 2022 release on Windows and Mac, will leverage the high popularity Unity and aim to make RPG game development more intuitive and fun for everyone. More fun for everyone than ever. Didn't quite roll off the tongue. Like past Maker series titles, RPG Maker Unite will retain its unique codeless nature that opens up the dream for more people wishing to become a developer. Not only that, with Unity's native support of mobile platforms, RPG Maker Unite will become even more fit to provide users with the options to easily widen their player base broader than ever. At Gotcha Games, it is our sincerest wish to unlock many creators' path to becoming a game developer, but are turned back by the many hurdles of game development. You can create RPGs without coding with RPG Maker series' powerful command system and editable parameters. Users will able to create systems without any sort of coding knowledge. You can have beautiful resources to make compelling games, an enhanced map editor, and featuring an established and versatile database system. If you are interested, the previous versions of RPG Maker are on sale right now on the Steam store. So they've got MV and MZ, I believe, are the ones. And they are at a pretty steep discount along with some of the add-ons as well. There's just a handful of images that came out for it, but it looks pretty impressive. They've always kind of toggled the Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 level of graphics. I'm sure you've seen plenty of RPG Maker games for sale, either on Steam or on the eShops, PSN stores. You kind of know when you see one. They look pretty similar. Not to say they're bad games by any stretch, but you kind of know. This one seems to go, now maybe we're talking PS1 to PS2, with a kind of crispness to it that you wouldn't have found it, less jaggy, but still not able to do hugely. Now, these are the first screenshots. I'll be very interested to see some video and see how this game looks with Unity, which is very popular right now. So, seems to be heading in the right direction for sure. I'm pretty excited about this. This could be a good opportunity for a lot of people to get into that market. You might have heard the news this week that Nintendo is going to be stopping the eShops for the 3DS and Wii U. Now, it's not for a while, not until March of 2023. And it's one of those deals, we talked about it with PlayStation, them dropping the stores on PS3 and Vita and PSP. They walked back the Vita and PS3 ones. It still happened on PSP. But it's one of those things like you can't have these things open forever, but at the same time you want people to be able to access their content. So from what I've heard is if you have bought these things, there's going to be a way for you to still download them. But if you've not, then there's kind of no way to get it. One thing in particular that and why people raise a fuss over this stuff is something like Fire Emblem Fates for 3D, for the 3DS. And it had three different versions, or three different paths to follow. The first two were the first two games. The third path, Revelation, was only available via DLC. So, while most DLC is additional things, this one was, if you wanted to get the full story, was kind of vital. So, yeah, you understand kind of what they're doing, but at the same time, it's frustrating. Then, if you want to think about this moving forward, we are obviously heading to some sort of digital-only future. The size of the games is only getting bigger, which kind of is starting to eliminate the physical aspect of them, much to my utter dismay as a collector of games. It's getting to the point where it's going to be a reality just due to the size of these things more than anything else. So, what happens in the future? Maybe they figured this out, and since it's all digital, they can keep these things open a little bit better. But it's frustrating, especially when you have examples like this, a version that you're just never going to be able to play again in a year from now, of course. But yeah, it just kind of stinks, and there's no easy answer here. So you kind of have to understand both sides of it, and it's just frustrating for sure. Speaking of Fire Emblem, this one is very like Fire Emblem. It's called Dark Deity. It's a Switch game, and it'll be released on March the 17th. Like Fire Emblem, Dark Deity is a grid-based strategy game. You send units into fights, they level up. Eventually, you can even change characters' specialties. Relationships can form as they fight alongside each other. Also, rather than permadeath, characters who fall in a fight take on grave wounds that reduce their stats going forward. When Dark Deity comes to Switch, it might look and feel a little bit different. This is due to some adjustments and rebalancing done from the PC and other console release. The 28 maps end up getting new art. Its equipment and abilities also end up being adjusted. There was a Switch release date trailer for it. It shows story segments, maps, and battle segments of this new version and what they look like. It shows the relationship building elements. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. Like if it's only $24.99 and available to the Switch. I think this is, yeah. I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. It definitely looks like some of the older Fire Emblem titles. A little bit basic, but between $4.99, it's a bit of a budget title. It looks not bad. I don't know what to make of this story. So I kind of feel like I'm going to have to wait until next week to give you anything solid on it. Atlas started a Soul Hackers Countdown website, and it's going to end on February the 21st. There's been this steady little trickle of information come out each day, and it's not much. In terms of, I don't know what this is. So I don't want to report necessarily on a game. Now, Atlas obviously can make any type of game. They do make a lot of JRPGs, so that's kind of why it has me interested. Just from the blurry screenshots that have been put out there so far, it doesn't necessarily scream JRPG, but I don't know. So check back with me next week. I'll let you know if Soul Hackers is indeed a new Atlas IP and something that we need to pay attention to, or if it was just another game and it can go on its merry little way. Axis has picked up another one of Experience's first-person dungeon crawling turn-based RPG games. This one has an insanely long title without a Western name to it, but they're just calling it Monu. There's no localized title yet, but I'm sure we'll get one. This was during the Axis All Access live stream. It's coming to the Switch and PC sometime in 2023. It does have English options already built into it, so there is It's coming worldwide, and this is the first step in that happening. As with many experience games, Mon U tasks people with creating a party of characters from 8 different classes. Your party members can take on genre staple jobs like knight, mage, priest, or warrior. You'll then send them into dungeons. Once inside, they'll chart things out and face foes and get stronger along the way. There was an announcement trailer showing off the game's art. The English version of the video appeared during the live stream. There was also a second video offering a better idea of what to make a character prepare in the hub and then head into battle. This is the last localized English experience was Demon Gaze Extra, so you kind of know what you're going to get with this. These tiles. The character models are kind of crazy looking. They got big heads and kind of squatty, for lack of a better word, kind of fat bodies. It's just a very unusual looking character model, to say the least. Especially what we're kind of used to. Kind of squatty, kind of chubby. I don't know. It's they're kind of cute at the same time. It's a weird mix. And then heading into first person dungeon crawling, an odd game to say the least. Sin Chronicle is the Sega game coming to mobile platforms. New information was shared about it, including a breakdown of its choice-based story system and other gameplay mechanics. Various activities and systems will be available for the player to participate in. This includes strengthening your relationships with the various characters through visiting the in-game tavern. Additionally, Sega has revealed that weapons will not be available to obtain through a gacha system. Instead, players can get weapons by defeating enemies and opening up treasure chests. Regarding the choice-based story system in Sin Chronicle, players will uncover keywords through general progression. At the end of each chapter, players will have to choose between 2 keywords. Selecting a keyword will change the path of the story, then lock them into a certain path. Once that path has been selected, the player cannot go back and choose their answer. There was a cool new trailer to go along with these. With this information, players will be able to recruit key characters into their party. These characters will have their own unique stories that players can experience alongside the main scenario. Guest characters will also appear in the game. Depending on the path the player selects, they could become a key character that will appear in a future chapter. Sin Chronicle will release for Android and iOS devices. This is the wrong... I don't know. The article has a date of December 15th of 2021. I think that has passed. I'm not sure. So, it's coming soon in Japan. No word on a Western release, but this one might make its way over in the end. We spoke many months ago about Square Enix filing English and Japanese trademarks for Valkyrie Elysium. This was back on September 16th. They have also now, what's the whole story of this? They filed for the trademark in Europe just yesterday, February 17th. So, not a whole lot to make of that, but it kind of leads down the story of, obviously, it could be a completely new game. Have nothing to do with the Valkyrie Profile series of games, but it could be another one. We'll have to wait and see. This is the first step, filing the trademarks. We'll see if that ends up being anything or not. One final story. I've been talking for a while. Obviously I love collecting video games, but I do love collecting JRPG action figures as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see some of the collection in the background. And I've been saying for a long time, like, the Legend of Heroes games seems to be perfect for action figures. I could not understand. There's been some small ones here and there. Obviously, Japan only for a lot of these ones. We learned a little while ago about the Rin and Altina figures that were coming out from Kotobukiya Official. We also now know the next two that they're going to be working on. No images yet for them, but they're currently developable for Crow Armburst and Rixia Mao. So now they're not going to be cheap. They already announced that Reen was going to be $200 and Altina was going to be $150. So probably outside my price range, but it's still cool to see these things finally happening and coming to the West eventually. Let's put it that way. And yeah, they got 100 figures that they could make between all the games and all the main characters. Hopefully they'll do that. One final thing I want to mention. I've not played Pokemon Go. Just not something I wanted to get into. But I've been looking for a game kind of like that. So I thought, hey, it'd be kind of cool to get out, walk around a little bit, and have a game to kind of motivate you to do that. I found one that you might be interested in as well. It's called Orna. ORNA. Kind of a terrible name. I gotta be fair about that one. But it is a very retro looking JRPG. Kind of looks like an NES game. But it encourages you to get out. You have a small little area that you can explore around your house. It's all GPS based. So as you move, you get to new areas you can explore. So it pops up new enemies, new quests, that type of thing. I've only kind of just started to get into it, but I really like it. And maybe you might have been looking for something like this as well. I thought I'd pass that on to you. I know it's available on iOS. I downloaded it for my iPhone. ORNA if you're interested. Completely free. I haven't even seen, honestly, I've not seen anything to even pop up to make me want to buy anything. Usually you get these free games and it's every 5 seconds something's trying to get you to buy something. That's at least not been the case so far. But yeah, it's a cute little fun game that might get you to get outside and explore a little bit. And never necessarily a bad thing. But you can also cheat and just drive around and do the same thing. I kind of do that if I'm going, go pick up the kid after school. So, hey, you do what you got to do. But that's going to do it for episode 205. Put a wrap on it. Not too bad considering we didn't have a ton of things to chat about. As I mentioned, Sunday special is coming. I guess it'll technically be the next 3 Sundays. So you got something else to look forward to. And just until further notice, unless I decide to change my mind, I think Fridays are going to work out pretty well. There were definitely a couple stories that broke in between last night and this morning. So it kind of wraps up the whole week as well. You can, everything's done in Japan for the week. So I don't miss anything and have to wait a week to report. And it just works out better as far as my schedule goes as well. So that'll do it. Thank you so much for checking in with us. We'll be back next week with some more fun things to chat about. Until then, get back out there and level up.